So today we've got Pneumatic with us. So we have Michael and we got Evan in the back.
Hey guys.
So they'll be talking to us about designer roles, what they do. So I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you. Hey guys, I'm Mike. Just by a show of hands, I want to see what kind of you guys are interested in. Does anyone here want to be a bag designer, lunch, footwear designer, apparel, hard goods like metal, plastics? Cool again. Awesome. So what I'm talking about today is going to be applicable to all those fields because it's the same principles that are going to help you learn about to get into all those fields. There's a quote by one of my favorite authors, named Robert Greene, from a book he wrote called Mastery. And what he says is mastery is not a function of genius or talent. It's a function of time and intense focus applied to a particular field of knowledge. Now, I read this book when I first got into design school, and the gist of the book is that basically there's been a process that every one of the greats has gone through, from Beethoven to Albert Einstein to Paul Graham, started Y Combinator. It's like a tech school, and all these people have gone through a process of a 10 to 20,000 hour kind of phase that got them to mastery. It's hard work. And that's kind of the process you guys are starting now. It's a fun time to be in. Basically, the book outlines these steps. This is like the highest level I could break it down to, but the first step is where you guys are at discovering your calling. And I felt like when I first found design school, it was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Some of you may be at this point, some of you may not be, but after that, it's the apprenticeship phase, which is school, internships, working. I consider myself still in an apprenticeship phase. Finding mentors and masters, finding people who you want to be like and who've already been places and can help save you a lot of time and frustration because they can tell you what to do. Then there's social intelligence, working with people. That's a huge part of any profession, especially in design. Working with people, connections, and that's what will probably help you get a job more than anything. Keep expanding your knowledge, and hopefully 10 to 20,000 hours later, you will attain a really proficient knowledge and skill set. So this is kind of going to be themes that are repeating throughout what I'm talking about today. This totally parallels the design journey. So, discovering your calling, your focus, like I was saying, like I remember when I found design school, this is how I felt, like, yeah, I'm finally interested in school. And this is what I want to dive into, but it took a while. I think it took me, that's probably 2 years into college until I found design. So it's really cool that you guys are already at this point, and if you already feel like you're focused on where you want to go, like that's skipping a lot of steps there. So early on, I was just an ADD kid. Probably like a lot of you, I was just drawing, playing with my tech deck, just riding motorcycles. My mom was an interior designer, which I was fortunate to have that background. So she had me, in art classes and stuff. And my dad was an engineer, so I was building and working. He loved motorcycles, so we were doing that all the time. But I really thought that all the things I was interested in weren't like jobs, And I wanted to just kind of play around and be creative. I didn't think that was like a path. So bro days come, high school, just like wanted to go skiing and surfing, and same thing, like I was taking graphics in high school, making shirts and stickers, and I was painting and doing all these things that I thought were just hobbies, I was like, oh, you can't have a career in that. Not even realizing that at the time I was building like a base of skill sets that I use now as a designer. Then I get to college, and it was really fun because it was like I had all this freedom, but I also had this anxiety because I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I've always just thought I was going to be like a designer, even though my parents probably were like kind of prepping me to be a designer. They didn't know. They kind of encouraged me to like study business or something. So I was like, well, I'm going to study business, I guess. And so went to a year of school, did a bunch of generals, and then I went on a 2-year mission for the LDS Church in California. And that was a big eye-opener. You learn that you're not the center of the universe, and that there's a whole world out there, and you learn to work with people, and that was a great experience. I came back and I was still like, in general, thinking I was going into business, and at that time I helped a friend who had started a mountain bike apparel company called Dark Timbers. He was from San Diego. He was a pro downhill mountain biker, and so I started helping him just because we met at the U, and I was helping him do his designs, thinking like still not realizing that's like what I was interested in. I just thought I was having fun drawing and helping him make designs. At the same time, I also helped a friend open up a CrossFit gym. I was working out with him a bunch. He was opening up his gym. I said, yeah, dude, why don't I help you do your logo? Because I knew how to use Illustrator a little bit. So I made a logo for him, still not realizing like I'm doing design. And I also got married around that time. And life was going on, and I still didn't have like that focus. School still felt like I'm just not that into it. And so I finally just took a semester off, and I was like, I need to stop spending my money if I don't really know where I'm going. And during that time off, I was going over the programs at the U of U, and they had just started this program called Multidisciplinary Design. And I was reading about it, and it was like amazing. It was like that, my calling moment. It was like, are you an entrepreneur? Are you creative? Are you wanting to learn all these things and work with your hands and learn how things are manufactured? And it was like, yes, I want to do all these things. And so that next semester, I signed up for some classes, and it was that calling moment. It was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I finally had some purpose in school. So that's really cool that you guys have this program. I wish this was around when I was back in college, because this is super cool what you guys have the opportunity to do. So what I am now, I'm a soft goods designer. Now it took me a while to also realize like what my focus was. So I liked design, I liked all these different things, but I kind of needed some focus that I didn't know. And what happened was, the way I decided this was I had a friend who was working in marketing at Spyder in Boulder, Colorado. And he said, hey, you and your wife should come out to Colorado and come to this show called SIA. It was a snow show. It's now part of OR. But at the time, it was like just a dedicated snow show. So he had me come out, give me a pass. He said, I want to introduce you to our CDO, our Chief Design Officer. And I was pretty intimidated, but I knew it would be a good opportunity. This guy, he was in the early 90s, got an offer from, he was a pro snowboarder, got an offer from a little company called Salomon at the time. And he went out to France and was like one of their first designers, like really epic. And then after that, he went to Ralph Lauren, because he'd always been interested in fashion, and learned from Ralph Lauren himself and helped launch some technical apparel out there. Really cool stories, and then gone on to manage some big brands. And like I said, at the time he was at Spyder, and so I meet him, and he's like, "So what do you want to do? You're studying design." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I just want to make like hard goods and soft goods. I want to learn how to do all these different things, maybe some web design." And I was all over the place, and he just shook his head and was like, "No, that's not valuable. Like you need to decide what you want to do. Like get focused." And like, oh, okay. So I was kind of slapped in the face, but it was good. And that's where I realized, like, growing up, doing all these different outdoor sports and activities, one of the big things I loved is all the gear I was using, like the bags, the apparel, the ski boots, footwear, and all that stuff. And so it helped me to realize, like, okay, I'm going to study. Like, I love soft goods. That's what I want to focus on. So I thought it was probably like my end of my first year of design school, and I decided from then on I'll have my portfolio focus on what I'm interested in, because I definitely was seeing other design students like make portfolio pieces that didn't seem that connected. It all seemed kind of random. So I really wanted to make sure my portfolio was intentional, so that I could hopefully land a job where I wanted to go. So that's kind of like the high level of how I got to how I found my focus, my calling, per se. So the apprenticeship phase, I would say this is where a lot of you guys are in. And by the way, if you guys have any questions, like throw them out. If you want me to further explain something, just feel free to ask questions. But the apprenticeship phase is kind of that stage you're in. How many of you guys would say you're like, and this is what I want to do, and I'm in my apprenticeship phase? You think? Maybe half-ish, maybe? Why do you say that? Are some of you still trying to decide, like, what is design something you want to do, for sure? Yeah, that's normal. It's stressful, for sure. So if you know your focus, definitely making school count is huge. This is some just stuff I did during school that really helped me to get good work in my portfolio and good experience. This is a footwear project I did actually when I was my senior thesis. I have always been into fitness as well, and I came up with this footwear technology for CrossFit because I noticed that people at gyms are always bringing in a bag of shoes because there's different heel heights for different movements you do, and different types of shoes like running shoe, weightlifting shoe, workout shoe, and they're all different and they all cost a lot of money. So I wanted to combine these technologies. Actually, during that time, I have a friend who works at Black Diamond now, and he had a connection to Casey Jarvis, who's I think speaking to you next week. So he and I went over to Black Diamond, and we were able to sit down with Casey, who was, has a background at Nike. And he, like I said, when you find a mentor, it was like a mentorship experience where we had an hour with him. And he's like, "Oh, so you want to do footwear?" And my friend and I were both doing footwear projects. And he's like, "Okay, well, we need to find a shoe last." Basically, the piece that do you know what shoe last is? So it's like the shape of inside of a shoe that they form shoes around. So you need to find a shoe last and start modeling around that and build clay models and actually start. And you can even put tape over them, and you can draw your pattern piece over it. And so, like, had I not learned that, I don't know what I would have done. I probably would just go to sketch to endless shoes or something, which that was part of it. But I was able to, through meeting different people, track down some Nike shoe last. And so I was able to form clay models over it. And that was a really cool experience and gave me an awesome portfolio piece, and I learned a lot. Also, that was the first bag I made. That's the back panel. I laser cut some foam and pulled some mesh over it, and those are some harnesses. I was able to find a lady who does repairs for Gregory Bax, and she has a bunch of sewing machines at her house out in West Valley, Utah, and I go out there and watch her sew. She was super cool, let me come and and she helped me out. I paid her a little bit, and she helped me make this bag. Once again, I was another teacher who's already done this, so I didn't have to learn the hard way too much. So making school count was huge. And like I said, find mentors, people who can teach you. This work right here was probably my most valuable internship. I did 4 internships during school. 3 of them were for free. One was at Forefront Skis. I walked in, it was just like, "Hey, can I be an intern?" This was when I was right in college. And I was just in the warehouse, just watching, helping build skis, and I was able to see different facets of the company. Another one was a Saga outerwear ski brand. But this one was most valuable. This was with a lady named Tara. She was a technical apparel designer at Black Diamond, and at the time she had a design studio in downtown Salt Lake, and she was working with Black Diamond. She also worked with other clients. So this was a company called Openwear. It's a European company, technical outerwear. So it was during my last semester at the U, and so after school I'd go over there a couple times a week, and we'd work on this whole design and development process it was a men and women's jacket, snow pant, and insulator collection. So that was a really cool experience, and it kind of gave me like a crown jewel for my portfolio, because I actually had some real product we made. And that was great because she had a fashion design background, so she understood a lot more of fashion trends. And one thing that was not taught well at the school I was at was color trends, which is a huge world of where color trends come from, how to decide that, and how to understand where to go from there. So I learned a lot from that, and she also had some different machines, and industrial sewing machines, and heat press machines, and that I got to work on, and swatch books, materials from different factories over in Asia, swatch books of trims, which are zipper pullers, different materials and webbing, and I got to pour over all these books and get introduced to these different suppliers in Asia and see all the different options out there. And then another section that is going to lead me into kind of how I landed a full-time job at Nomadic is social intelligence. It's a whole, like I said, it's a whole section that I'm going to study. And I really like this quote from it where it says, "Navigating smoothly through the social environment, we have more time and energy to focus on learning and acquiring skills." So basically, getting along with people, I don't think it's something that is talked about much in the college scene setting, but it should be. people skills. It's just as much about who knows you and who you know, and having a good reputation and getting along with people, because if you're getting along with people and that's going more smoothly, you'll have more mental energy to put towards acquiring and learning new skills. I think that's really important to understand. And had I not known, like my good friend Evan, he was at the time consulting at the U, and the two founders of Nomadic were there, getting some, talking to the program director at U of U, and somehow my name got brought up, and Evan put in a good word, and luckily there was some good word of mouth, and I was able to get an intro through their conversation to Nomadic, and that's how I ultimately landed in my full-time job at Nomadic. I've been there almost 2 years now. So working at Nomadic has been, these planes are, because we go to Asia so much. I think I've been 6 times in the last year and 8 months over to Vietnam, and each going one direction is 24 to 27 hours. So it's been over 12 days of my life, just flying to Asia and back. And so, but that's been an incredible part of the experience. That international experience has been huge. The first product I worked on was called the 30-liter travel bag. And when we came into the brand, it was interesting because Evan and I, we started about a week apart from each other at Nomadic. And it was really up to us to kind of develop a design culture at Nomadic, because we were the first designers there. And so when I came in, there was already some existing products. And the interesting thing about Nomadic that's unique to them is that it's a Kickstarter-focused brand. So everything they launch is on Kickstarter. Their first backpack they launched on Kickstarter did over $1 million, and they've since grown to be one of the top 10 earners for Kickstarter. So they're kind of one of the big players in that space. And so it's a weird world, because you have a whole Kickstarter audience watching you, but we're also trying to become a much bigger brand. And so this bag was basically to kind of cap off the current design aesthetic in line. So the constraint for this was it has to basically be this square shape, because it was like a better version of the first product, which was this 40-liter travel bag. So that was kind of the constraint. So it was a lot of fun to kind of mess around with, how can we improve this bag? And I don't know if you can see, on that bag there's some laser cut venting. We got to put some cool venting in. There's more minimal branding. The early Nomadic products had these triangle prints all over the place. We're really busy and drove us kind of nuts. And so that was kind of a win to just clean up the aesthetic. Because you're not only trying to get a good product for consumers, but you also have to have the whole company on board, the owners of the company. You're always kind of selling your ideas and everyone has to be on board. And so this is a really fun project. For my first product to launch, I think did over 500-something thousand on Kickstarter, which is pretty cool to watch. And people at Nomadic that was so abnormal to them. It was they were even excited. Evan and I were isn't that cool? And it's they really get surprised. So it's a high standard there for sure. A big part of the design process is trend research, and it's hard to show you guys in just a slide how deep we can go into trends. But like I said, there's color trends, there's fashion trends, there's what are the trends in the bag industry. Nomadic is I'd say a premium bag design brand for travel goods and accessories, and we're really trying to redefine function and just kind of go next level on our function. But you also don't want to just make the next fidget spinner where it's just pockets everywhere and it's really busy, and just kind of finding a tasteful solution to these things. So it's researching trends, cool materials and finishes, and where things are going is a great way to figure out what's next. Inspiration. We don't just draw inspiration from copying people, and you guys definitely shouldn't either. Look outside of just what you're interested in. That same mentor of mine who told me to focus on where I want to go with my career early on, recently told me on a phone call, we were talking, and he was just I don't get paid, talking about himself, he said, I don't get paid to just copy people. I get paid to, take brands and help them get vision and take them to, the next level. So right here are some examples of some inspiration that's currently been behind some of the projects we're working on that are coming out in 2020. This picture is those beds. It's like a micro capsule hotel in Russia. I found this picture on some design blog, and what I thought was so cool about that is this really symmetrical, clean organization, and that image actually inspired the current interior pocket design of our products that are coming out. So that's just an example of where you can find inspiration from. It's not just going to Nike's website and like do that. It's looking in different industries. This is a really cool concept car. I really like the different, we call it geometric shapes on it, and some of those lines and different tones have shaped some of the bag designs I'm doing right now. The VR headset, things like macro trends and technology trends, we try to pay attention to that because those what will determine what goes in our bags and gear. So it's looking at what the world trends are as well. Staying healthy. I still try to get outside as much as I can. That's a big part of where I think, and it's also just helps you perform better. Getting active. Sketching a lot. That's a huge part of, especially in my field where I'm in soft goods, and I'm constantly trying to visually show what I'm talking about. Because you're trying to explain stuff, you can explain it much better by just showing a sketch or just getting on a whiteboard and sketching some stuff up. So these are some different forms I was sketching and zipper polar ideas that have influenced a new collection we're working on as well. So practicing sketching right now while you guys have the time is huge. It's a really important skill because if you can't sketch that well, it shows in your digital sketching, and it'll show in your understanding of perspective and line weight and those basic design principles you'll learn by hand sketching first. So that's my recommendation. It's getting good just on pen and paper first. Finding time to be bored and think. I think this is a huge one. It's easy nowadays to just scroll through Instagram endlessly when you're bored. But as a designer, you need time to process what you've been learning because you're learning so much all the time. Finding that time to just sit back and have some music or quiet or go on a walk or sit at your desk and get that quiet time and be bored. And that's when we get a lot of cool ideas. And that's when a lot of my ideas have happened, for sure. And I think it's hard as well as a designer because you live in a world where you partly are introverted and you need time to just focus, but you also are in a social atmosphere. And so finding that balance is tough. I know Evan and I both sometimes we'll leave and come back to work late at night to just get some quiet time. So that's a tip I think is helpful for you guys to know. Prototyping like crazy. This was actually the first product I started at Nomadic. This was a toiletry bag that we launched on Kickstarter after that backpack. It took us 9 months to get this bag right because we just had to keep doing it over and over again because we have such a high standard. So actually, the first week I started at Nomadic, I'm kind of under the gun. This guy's uncle right there is one of my bosses. And he's a good designer. He knows what he's doing. He's worked with Asia his whole life. And so, there's a high standard working with him. And so he wanted to make this toiletry bag. And these paper prototypes up here are the ones I made that first week I was there. And I was able to walk in and go over the prototypes with them, and they understood the concept really quickly, and we were able to iterate on that. A prototype's even more valuable than sketching, for sure. I forgot the quote, but it's prototype's better than 1,000 words. And it's for sure true. If you can just mock something up quickly and have it in full size and go through it and interact with it, it's more valuable. So that's why I say sketching and then prototyping. Those are two very valuable parts of the design process. Concept to prototype. This is kind of design in a nutshell. This was a sling bag, a crossbody bag. We recently designed. We fly a lot through Japan on our way to Vietnam, and when you go to Japan, it's super cool. They just have a really interesting style as a country. A lot of people are wearing sling bags, different forms of small sling bags, and that's kind of what inspired this bag. And so these are some renderings. These are kind of some of the final renderings of the sling bag concept I came up with. And there's just a rough paper mock-up I made. And that picture on the top right is 3 weeks after I had sent this design to Asia. We showed up, and this is sitting on the table. That's the first picture I took when we walk in, and it's that's one of the most satisfying parts of design. It's magic. You show up to your manufacturer, and the stuff you've been drawing and mocking up is perfectly made right there. was so cool to see that. And there's of course imperfections to it, and we'll probably go through like 10 samples of it because that's just how we are. We're very with a high standard, and we just keep having to redo stuff. It's hard to know when design's finished. But in a nutshell, that's kind of like the concept of prototype. I don't know, it's really rewarding. I think it's really cool, and that's where it ultimately will be going as a field you're interested in. That you can make this happen, and it's really interesting, the butterfly effect, meaning like how much happens far away, like the ripple effect when you set something in motion. Like when I send a design to Asia, there's a team of 50 people working on these designs. You know, there's a lot happening in the world economy, and you can be a part of that, and it's really cool. Product development. So this is kind of another section. What I just went over is basically like a high-level view of design. There's also development, meaning now that you have the designs and those things worked out, getting the product physical. So what that entails is going to the factory, seeing the physical sample, sourcing all the materials you're using, sourcing all the trims you're using. Like we're making currently custom pullers, zipper pullers, different webbings we're sourcing, and a bunch of other materials. And I think right now most of our materials are coming from Korea, Taiwan, China, and for our luggage even Japan. So you have multiple countries involved, and it's interesting being designers and developers because we have to wear a lot of hats. And so once you get to this stage, it's a lot of emails and Skyping. We work on Skype a lot. That's our best communication tool. And so Vietnam is 13 hours later than here. So basically at night is when we start Skyping. So like 7 p.m. my wife knows that I'm going to be on my phone a little bit, talking to the factory on Skype. Just the same with Evan. We're kind of at our house, is just like talking to our team over there, making sure they understand the stuff we had sent them that day. So it's really weird working with the time differences as well. And that's Evan and I on our most recent, like a few trips ago in Asia, down in the sample room, going over the different prototypes. What Evan's holding is a paper pattern. So they have this, it's called a plotter machine. You guys ever seen like a die cut machine that cuts stickers? But instead of the knife on it, it has a ballpoint pen. And so from our designs, they'll make pattern pieces in a big digital file, and this pen will draw the pattern pieces onto this big sheet of paper, and then they'll cut those out, and that's how they make the pattern pieces. And then from there, they'll put those on top of, once they make a paper mock-up, they'll go from there to the full material mock-up. So we were just reviewing that. This is the most recent trip. This is a whole collection we're working on right now called the Navigator Collection. What you're looking at right now is a design after, it's like Evan had shredded that one. That's one of his projects, his closest one. This is a 2-wheel roller bag. And we'll just get markers and draw right on it and go over it with the whole team. And those are other bags that we've been working on. It's a travel pack, an everyday pack, a sling, a whole collection we're working on. So it's a lot of products. And then the picture on the right, I was there for about a week, and while you're waiting for products to be finished, because you'll go over products, and you kind of have to wait a few days for them to come back with another version of that. So during those kind of lull periods, I'll go down to the sample room and spend a lot of time just watching them, the different workers who are just so highly skilled, watch them make different prototypes and bags. And I'll learn a lot about sewing just watching them, because it's really intricate stuff. Like, you send them a drawing, but then they are the ones figuring out how to make it. And sometimes you need to sit there to even think through things with them. And, let's see, Korean barbecue. So almost the entire bag industry in Vietnam is owned by Koreans. They're the ones who innovated that manufacturing process. So Korean barbecue is that's pretty much our nightly dinner. And the reason I included this in there is because this is a really important time to sit and build relationships, because you're in the business with people. It's not just products. You need to cultivate a relationship with them. And during these meetings, you learn a lot about what's going on. I mean, we had our one factory owner get a little too much to drink one night and let us know that he'd been overcharging us on some of our bill of materials, like in the spreadsheets where our products are. And so, had we not done that, we wouldn't have learned that. And you just learn a lot of valuable information. It eases the relationship.
It was like 10%. It was like a lot of money.
Yeah. 7 hours, like, oh, interesting. So it's a lot of fun. And you think you'd be in Vietnam eating Vietnamese food, but we pretty much just eat Korean the whole time. Because like I said, the factory owners are Koreans, and then their teams are generally Vietnamese. And so it's also really interesting because they generally speak English, but like you'll be in a meeting, you're speaking English, they're speaking Korean, and they're speaking Vietnamese, and it's just like, it's totally crazy. And you're like, what? You're trying to understand each other sometimes because you can't understand each other. And it's wild. There's a little octopus soup I ate this last trip, which is really good. Hope I didn't get sick. Hard deadlines. So this is a really kind of harsh reality of the world you're getting into. This isn't digital design. Like my wife's a UX designer. If they launch a product that's wrong, they can just take the site down and finish it. If you make a whole product line that's wrong and somehow miss on the manufacturing step, some major quality control issues, you can have a whole crate of bags, hundreds to thousands of bags, coming across the Pacific Ocean completely wrong. And you have to figure out, so there's a lot of pressure, for sure. We work in a business of hard deadlines. So we have to get the product done on time, correctly, setting up quality control, working with our factory on that. And there's inevitably just going to be a percentage of product that will come out wrong because all this is still done by hand on assembly lines. And it's really interesting. And also we need to get product back in time so that our marketing and media team can start filming and writing content and have samples to work with so that they can prepare a Kickstarter, because like I said, we launch Kickstarters. So it's not all roses right now. There's a trade war going on. You have the two superpowers of the world fighting. Trump's always flexing, and then we check Twitter every day to like see what freaking thing he's tweeted out to like piss off some country, and so it's wild. Like, and you're also dealing with not only that. There's a trade war right now between Korea and Japan. A lot of people don't know about. They have a crazy history, and they're beefing right now because Japan supplies essential resources that like Korea needs for one of their major economies, which is Samsung. So they're beefing, and so like some of our Korean manufacturers don't want to use Japanese products because they're just mad about the whole tension between those governments. And you learn these things when you go out to these countries about all that's going on. It's not just about, there's a whole world economy involved. This is me sick. The first trip we got out there, Evan and I ate this like way janky river fish. I don't know what we were thinking. We were just like excited to be in Vietnam. And we were at this factory that's now gone, but it was like way out where like the Vietnam War was fought. It's called by the Cu Chi tunnels. It was where like the Viet Cong would like sneak around in the tunnels and kill a bunch of Americans. It's a crazy area. So you're out there in like these rice paddies, and like, hey, we're at this factory, and like, you guys want to go to this local spot? And we're like, yeah, sure. We're just stoked to be there. And we went out to this way sketchy restaurant, and like they served us this like fish. We're like, what is it? Like, oh, it's a river fish. Oh, okay. Ate it and like some pickled vegetables, and after that we were so sick, and we had another week out there, and like went to the doctor. This is me sitting on the hospital bed of the doctor in Vietnam, and he like looked at me and just basically told me I was fine, and gave me like some Pepto-Bismol. I was totally sick for a week, went home, had E. coli. So, so now we're much more careful. I wish, I don't know what we were thinking. We were totally excited to be in Asia, and we were stupid. So, the next segue, well, first of all, that kind of wraps up like the product design and development. Do you guys have any questions or anything you're curious about? That's a good time to ask. Yeah.
I guess, like, would you say all the travel is like a pro or like more of a con of your job?
Well, when you don't get sick, it's a lot better. I mean, I've like the last 2 trips have been super awesome. Like, I really enjoyed them. And travel changes you, like you go out and you meet new people, you have new experiences, and that's one of the most rewarding parts. I think it's really cool. I've come to really enjoy it. And I got a Nintendo Switch to like pass the time. So I've been playing video games again since like. I just beat Zelda.
It all depends on how you milk it. It all depends on how you milk that too. It's like you can make it really, really fun too.
Yeah, for sure. Like I actually had 3 trips ago. I had like I was out there alone. I had a 3-day lull where my factory's like, look, we have nothing for you to do right now. You need to come back in a few more. We need a few more days to finish your product. So I was like, okay, well, where's a cool beach I can go to? I just asked them, and they told me about a spot called Da Nang in central Vietnam. And I went out there. I found like a 5-star hotel for like $50 a night, and like a $50 flight one way. So I bought a little round trip ticket, went out there, and I woke up the next day and there's waves breaking. I was like, in the hotel, some guy at the hotel brings out this like crappy inflatable surfboard. He's like, you want to try it? I was like, yeah. So I like went surfing. Super cool, and I just hung out for a bit. There's things like that happen that are really cool. And like Evan said, it's what you make of it too, for sure. Like we try to get out and go explore and see cool things, and it's really interesting. Any other questions? Yeah.
Would knowing a second language be helpful?
Yeah, probably. I know Spanish. It's like not helpful. So I've been thinking about, I don't know, but it's like, it's hard to know what to learn too, right? Because we're in a trade war with China. So that could potentially mean more and more manufacturing moves away from China. Our factories are Korean and Vietnamese, so I'm kind of like, I don't know. Korean would probably make the most sense for me right now, especially for the bag industry. So, yeah, maybe I'll study Korean. Yeah.
How do you navigate the cultural differences when you're trying to form relationships when you go over to
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, asking a lot of questions in a respectful way. Like, you'll for sure ask questions that like what, you know, and that's just how it goes sometimes. Like, you don't know what you don't know. And that's been really interesting. I'm always really fascinated with cultures and different history. I've been way into Asian history right lately. I've been like reading and watching documentaries on trying to learn what I can. Like, we were most recently in a war with Vietnam, right? And so there's that history there, and there still is some odd tension sometimes. Like, luckily the new generation doesn't remember as much the Vietnam War like we do, and then we're kind of friends now. But it's like the older generation, like we were an enemy, you know, like we were considered like evil to them, you know. And so that's been interesting as well. So yeah, I think just asking a lot of questions, like I said, creating barbecues, going out to dinner with them, spending time with them, and not just treating them like just like your servant or something. Sending them gifts, like we try to buy them, like they love milk tea in Vietnam, like it's like a boba tea. You guys have that? It's popular. They love that too. So we'll try to, you know, get them stuff and just to thank them for all the hard work they do, because they grind, you know, they work so hard. Yeah, we bring them we bring them vapes. They don't have them out there. They love our Korean factory owner. He loves vaping, so we'll bring him like jewels. He loves it. That goes a long way just to like do a nice gesture. Like Evan's Draper Vapors last time, like buy a whatever pack of vapes. So we need to send more, brother. Does that answer your question? A little bit. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, like, how does it affect like family life, having to travel all the time?
Family life?
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. My poor wife is like, just like, you know, just home, hustling while I'm gone. It's crazy, like, and there's this huge time difference, you know, so checking in. It's just, yeah, it definitely is a strain on family life sometimes, but.
Do you ever have opportunities like bring her along or anything like that?
I've been wanting to. Problem is she's in a very busy career. She's a UX designer on a plural side, so she's been super busy, but yeah, that's kind of the plan, is have her come meet me. We've been trying to go with the Mountain Collective Pass, there's a few passes in Japan. We've been trying to meet up this next year, but hopefully we're going to try to go over to Japan. She might meet me halfway, so that could be cool. Yeah. But it's definitely, that's a challenge. That's another one of those things, like, that's how you know, you're going to be away from home, and that's just part of the job. So, yeah.
Do you ever get asked to design a product that you're like not stoked on or don't really believe in?
So say that again.
Do you ever get asked to design a product that you're like not really stoked about or maybe
Oh,
don't
yeah.
believe in?
All the time. And that's just how it goes. Like, because like, and that's why we have a lot of discussions. You know, like someone has an idea, someone in the company, a founder or one of us, and we really need to like. Some of the ideas are bad and some are good, but you know, you can take a terrible idea or an idea you're not that excited about, and if you meet enough and you know, have some brainstorms, you can generally, as a team, like work towards something that's more, you know, compelling for the team. And sometimes you do need to just like, some ideas have to be killed and some ideas have to be changed. So yeah, but that's part of it for sure too. Like, you're going to do freelance jobs, and sometimes you might just need, you know, some money. And a freelance job comes along you're not super passionate about, but you know, you might work on a project. You're for sure going to work on projects you're not that excited about. But you can also, you know, something that I think Evan's really good at is like, okay, an idea is not that great. He can help like change the conversation and That's something I learned from him, is like, how can we take this in a better direction? You know, you're not like, you don't think that you're totally set. Like, you have some power to it. You're like, oh yeah, well maybe we can fix this or add this cooler feature and change this look. So, it's a good question. Anything else? Okay. Yeah, thanks for those questions. That's awesome. So this is kind of a segue into, like, I guess, design entrepreneurship and kind of things outside of just my full-time job. There's another quote from that same book: "The future belongs to those who learn more skills and combine them in creative ways." Totally believe this, and that's why I've tried to, you know, keep my skill sets growing, and I try to do other things outside of just my full-time gig. Social media has been huge. Like, I remember I started just posting designs on Instagram, probably just after I graduated. I looked at my Instagram and I was like, I am just getting sick of me posting pictures just like smiling or like, you know, skiing or something. And I was like, I want to have some more purpose to my social media if I'm going to keep like posting stuff, because I just wasn't interested in just like posting about my just everyday life. And so I started doing social media. I didn't have a full-time job yet. I was doing some freelance work, and like I said, finding time to be bored, I had some kind of bored times, and that's when I came up with some pretty cool design content, and that helped kind of like start to grow my following a little bit. And social media has been amazing. Like, I've been able to get a lot of different projects and jobs and connections through just social media. It's really my living portfolio. I probably get the most outside work from just Instagram. And I honestly, I put really basic stuff, like these are just marker and pen sketches, but they just kind of show like kind of the rough, quick ideation stuff, but it's been a nice kind of carrot to like attract different people interested in the work I do and start those conversations, and it's been an awesome way to get some freelance work. Skillshare. This is from Forbes, the global e-learning, or like the online education market. It's going to raise it's projected to reach $325 billion by 2025. It's a monster market. And I listened to a podcast that kind of was really cool, and this is what I kind of started this experiment of why I did this. The podcast is called Passive Income for Designers. Check it out if you guys haven't heard of it, Passive Income for Designers. And I heard an interview from this, it was like an illustrator. He went to BYU, and he taught on Skillshare. Skillshare is a platform that you pay monthly. It's like $10 a month. And you can go and just like watch videos that people make. And it's cooler than YouTube because it actually pays the teacher. So you get paid per minutes watched. And this guy said he pays for his house payments by just making Skillshare classes on how to do Adobe Illustration. Like, he does illustration for all kinds of stuff. Like the stuff you see on like Dribbble, Behance, kind of like more digital design type stuff. And yeah, he pays for his mortgage and by the money he gets from Skillshare. And I thought that was so cool. And so what I wanted to do was do an experiment. So that's why I came out with a series of just some basic sketching courses on Skillshare. And the link to that's on my Instagram if you're interested in checking that out. If you click that link, you get 2 free months, and you can cancel whenever. That's something you're interested in checking out, because there's also a ton of other designers teaching cool stuff on there. And it's actually become a passive income for me. It becomes something that every month PayPal sends me money from Skillshare. It's really cool. It's just another revenue stream, and it's just like something to keep me excited. I've only done 3 courses, and I'm wanting to do more. So like, if you guys had anything you thought would be cool to learn that you might not be getting in school, because it's hard for schools to teach every skill you need. They're not going to be able to. It's up to you as well to find education. And so it's easy to blame schools as well for stuff you're not getting, but it's also, you know, like I said, find things like Skillshare, YouTube, mentors to learn things you don't feel like you're learning. So yeah, shoot me a message if there's something that you think would be cool to see a Skillshare taught on. So I'm looking for new ideas of what design students like you are wanting to learn. So Skillshare's been this really cool kind of avenue, and another thing we're going to focus on. Ready Design, this is my design consultancy brand. This is where I pay my taxes. So you got to pay taxes if you do freelance job. It's like my legal entity name, Ready Design. And that's been really cool. I get to, because my Instagram, like I said, finding a focus on your portfolio, by putting the stuff I'm interested on Instagram, I attract that type of work, because that's what, you know, people go on. Like, so this was a job I did with some concept work I did for Triple Aught Design. They're a cool, like, outerwear brand in San Francisco. This is a fitness brand. I did some men and women's fitness apparel. Because of Skillshare, a guy in Boston who starting a cyclocross sock brand contacted me. So that's some process photos I sent him. So I got to design a line of socks, and it's been really cool. And I've also designed some bags for other people, and that's given me a lot of other really relevant experience. So design entrepreneurship, it can be stressful for sure as well. Like, because this means that if I take on other work, I go home after work, and I'm working at night, you know. And so you kind of have to decide what you want to do with your time. But so I'm always weighing that, you know, to try to make sure I spend time with family and friends and don't lose my mind. But I also just really enjoy having a lot of things going on. And maybe school kind of wrecks you because like you're used to being busy. I've kept busy because I'm used to being so busy. That's how it goes. But I do enjoy it. And so that's basically the kind of my design entrepreneurship life outside of work. And that's my presentation. Thank you, guys.
So I think we got time for maybe one or two quick questions.
Okay.
Any that came up? I was just going to say, I think the quote you were looking for, isn't it a sketch is worth 1,000 words and a prototype's worth 1,000 sketches?
Oh, that's it.
Is that the right one?
Yeah,
That's right.
butchered it. Write that down.
What program did you do at the U?
What's that?
What program did you do at the U?
Oh, my bad. It's not said. It's called the Multidisciplinary Design Program.
Oh, okay. I was in that.
Oh, you were? Yeah. I think this is cooler though.
Yeah, definitely.
Where Evan and I are like, hey, this is the future.
That's where it's at.
Yeah.
Can I just hit home that point, the living portfolio piece? We had a senior last year who she put a lot of her work out online, and we've shared a lot of student work. And Orvis, a fishing company out of Vermont, saw her work and reached out to her and hired her. She's out there now. So
That's how it goes.
the living portfolio
Yeah.
piece is really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like everything.
Anything else? Yeah. Mastery. I have a copy of it if you want to check it out before you go. Anything else?
All right,
Thank
let's
you,
thank
guys.
them one more time. And